Hello, hello, hello. Let me just make sure everything's working. Hope everyone's having a good evening. There's my... There we go. Nice and closed. Make sure... Okay. Great, audio's coming through. All right, let's now just prepare a few things. All right. Is great. I can hear myself. And just one moment before we get into things. Pick the right emoji. And going live. Pop. Pop that in and Drupal CMS. All right, cool. Just finalizing a few things and then we can get right into it. And I'll pop this here. And last but not least, I will pop this somewhere. All right, that's fine. Okay. Now tonight we're going to be talking about group module, which is actually a pretty cool module. Anyway, let me just move a few things here. Finalize this stuff. So if you do have any questions, throw them my way. And I will hot mic USB and we're done. All right, cool. And last but not least, let's move over to this one and switch to the main feed. Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. All right, cool. I think we are ready to go. All right, I'll just move this down here. So I've got access to all of this. Ah, you're not coming in late. I just haven't started. Not late at all. All right. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, we might as well just get right into it. Make sure the mic is nice and close. Yeah, I'm sure it's the right mic. Yeah, anyway. All right, cool. Okay, I think I'm going to sneeze. No, I'm not. Okay, good. All right, cool. Might as well just get right into it. I think everything is working. Everything's recording. That's right. Yes, it is. All right, cool. All right. So hello and welcome to tonight's video. Today we're going to be taking a look at one module. Yes, we're going to just focus all our attention on one epic module, and that is called the group module. Now, I've attempted to actually prepare this live stream a few times, but I feel like I don't know why it didn't work the first time. No, I don't know. I don't remember. I kind of thought it was a bit too it was too many moving parts. So that's why I didn't do it the first time. That there's a lot involved and it can be very hard to kind of cover everything in 1 hour, which I try and do. So tonight what I want to do is talk about the group module. And I'm going to cover, the basics of it because There's a lot to this module. There is a lot. We're not going to create any type of end-to-end product with it, unfortunately, because there is a lot. But we're going to be focusing on the roles aspect and just installing it and working with it. Because as you will see, there's a fair bit of site building. So what does the group module allow you to do? Well, the module allows you to create functionality where you can have content where you can control the access of a content depending if a person or a user is a member of a group. So in typical Drupal fashion, everything's kind of very abstract. But some examples you can see here on the project page, some examples are classes on a school website. So you may want to have a section where a class can just jump online and a teacher can then just add content to that particular class that they have access to. And also students can also then access content for their particular class. Okay, so that's one example. Then you can have like a multi-tier subscription content. Like, you can also have other examples of like learning management system can be another great example of a group content. Essentially, when you want to group content, hence the name group content, group module, especially when you want to just group content together and then give users access to that content where they have to be members of it. And so I've used the group module in the past and it's worked very well. There's a bit of site building involved, but I've had a lot of success with it. Now, in the older days of Drupal, there was organic groups. And I'm actually not sure. Let's have a quick look at, I think it's OG/OG. Organic groups was one of them. And okay, it's been a while since I've looked at it, but I think originally when Drupal 8 was released a long, long time ago, the group module came out and you can still see that it's an alpha. Now, organic groups is another solution, but we are focusing on uh, the group module for this functionality. All right, so we have a first comment. I'm creating a farm management system and I created a content type of animal. May I group them? Oh, yes, you can, absolutely. You could use the group module to group content and display it in a very specific way. You could actually, you, you could skip the whole membership part where users become a member of a group. And if you need a way of grouping content, but in the future, you may want to allow users access to specific, say, a farm or something like that in this example, then yeah, you could use group module for that. That's another way of doing it. It's all about thinking of the future. So, so for tonight, for tonight's example, this is what we're going to implement. And so I've got these great little slides here. Oh, I always love it. So I've got this great little Google slide where we are going to have a group called class. So we're going to have a group type. And again, in typical Drupal fashion, there's always a bundle, there's always fieldable things. So there's a group type going to be called class. And then we are going to allow a teacher to create a blog or a news item in that group. Then students will be able to join a class or a group and then have access to that content. So to view that content, you have to be a member of a group. And I've also got a few little smiley faces here just to represent users, because I will probably have to come back to this slide just to kind of explain the roles and permissions, because that's where a lot of the magic of this happens. And that's where all the technical part happen. And it can be very, very fiddly where you're like adjusting permissions and seeing if things work and have a separate browser opened up and things like that. So we're going to take our time. And this time we're just going to focus on group stuff. Oh, sorry, no, we're just going to focus on the permission part. And maybe in the future, we can do another video where we get into more, if there is a specific bit of functionality we want to cover, we can cover that in a future video. All right. So to begin, download the module. And so what I'll do is I'll scroll all the way down to the bottom and grab the latest one. I've noticed that Drupal.org now has changed the colors of these releases, which is a bit different to what I'm used to. Normally, I'm used to looking for the green one, which is the stable one. Anyway, the only constant is change in this universe, as they say. All right, so we're going to first download the module. So let's go ahead and do that. I am running ddev, so I'll first type in ddev, and then I will download it. It's going to go ahead and download a few dependencies, but we don't have to worry about that. It's going to handle it for us. And then let's jump over to our Drupal CMS site. Now, I'm using Drupal CMS, but you can use whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. Well, you need to use Drupal. So, I mean, you can use Drupal core or Drupal CMS. Now, let's go to extend and search for group. And what you want to do is install group and group node. Group node allows you to reference content within a group. So it's important. So if you want to allow, say, a content type to be available in a group, then install group node and click on install. Let me just close that up. All right. Now on the left-hand side in Drupal CMS, or if you have the toolbar, you'll see groups. You want to click on that. So let's open that up in a new tab. And from here, you can create your groups or you can manage your group types. As I mentioned, anything in Drupal that's an entity or a fieldable entity always starts off with a bundle. So there's always a group type, content type, vocabulary. It's always the same thing. Let's go ahead and create our group type. And this one we're going to call class. So in this case, you could probably call it a course or something, or school, community, something like that, whatever you want. And you do have a few options here. And what you want to do is you come down here, and this is where we get into the weeds of it when it comes to roles. Now, this will all make sense later on, but bear with me. So you want to enable the automatically configure useful default roles. Because what happens is group essentially has its own set of roles, which can then be synced up with your site roles. And setting up the default just saves us from clicking around a lot of things and creating roles. So let's just select that. And you want to then click on Save Group Type. Now, as I mentioned, these are fieldable entities. So we can, let me just zoom in a little bit more. There we go. These are fieldable entities. So you do have the manage form, manage fields, manage form display, and manage display, same as any other content type. So what we're going to do is just create one field, and we'll call this one, what do we want to call it? Yeah, class detail. Yeah, call it that. Class details. Class details. And click on Save Settings. Let's just reorder this so it's up the top. And let's also move class details up the top there. All right, perfect. Now what I'll do is let's go ahead and create two classes. So now we'll do Drupal class used for Drupal classes. And because I am a user, because I'm an admin user, it's going to add me to the actual group. So as a member. And let's go back here. And we'll also add another group for called just React, just so that we can always see two different ones. So React class and like used for React class. And I can be added to that. All right. Now, we have our classes, we have our, well, classes or groups, okay? We've created both of them. Now, just to kind of help things out, what I'm going to do is also just create a quick table using views, just so that we can see all of our classes. Because out of the box, we don't really get much out of it. So we still need to build out, just do basic site building. So let's create a new view. I'm going to call this one classes, and we'll select group. And then you have your different classes here. Let's just, let's select classes, create a page, select table, and let's click on save and edit. Now, if this is the first time, I say this every single time I cover views, but it's important because there might be new viewers here. If this is the first time you're looking at the views UI and you want to learn more about views, well then check out, I think I do have a getting started with views video on the WebWash YouTube channel. Check it out under live tab. It will be there. All right, so we come down here, we can see our classes, and let's just quickly chuck in, what is it, details. And last but not least, let's make it linkable. And let's also add in a menu. Main menu, add it to the main nav, and we'll call this one classes. Click on save. There we go, there we go. Now, if we go to the home page, we should see classes up the top here. Awesome. And we can see our classes right here. Okay, great. All right, we're getting there. So we've done a basic bit of site building and we have our classes. Okay. All right. Because I'm an admin and the admin gets access to everything, we can see a few tabs here. So we can see all of the entities. We can see the members, and we can also see the nodes, if there are any nodes. Let's jump back to our group. And there's a few things we need to do here. Let's go back here and let's go to edit. So as I mentioned, manage form display, manage fields, manage form display, manage display. That's just the fieldable stuff. Then we have permissions. This is where you define your permission for the group, not the user permissions for the general Drupal site. Now, before we jump into things, I do need to click on one link, which I know is going to break, and that's this one. There is a bug in the module for now, but there is a patch that we can easily apply, and I will do that now. So if you are using this module and you hit this bug, don't worry, there is a patch. So I'll bring up the patch, the actual issue for it. So if we bring this up, go to this URL, you will see that it is reviewed and tested by the community. Oh, that's right. I think it was this patch that I originally was going to cover the module, but this was just when Drupal CMS was released and I really wanted to install everything using, or not using Composer. And I thought, well, how am I going to not use Composer if I need to apply the patch using Composer? But then I gave up on that notion of installing everything through the project browser when using Drupal CMS, because sometimes you do need to apply patches. All right, so here we have the issue. And if you scroll all the way down, there is a merge request right here. And the way you get the patch is if you remove this, well, this bit of the hash, and then just add in .patch at the end. So if you type in, I think .patch, you get the patch version. I think if you also type in a .diff, I believe, yeah, it gives you a diff, which is actually pretty cool. Maybe the diff works as well, or .patch. Yeah, anyway. So that's how you get the patch file. So to implement this, all we need to do is, first of all, jump into code editor of choice. Let me zoom this in a little bit more. And you want to first of all download this package, this composer patches package. So you need to download that. And then you go to extra and you need to add in a patches section. So let me go ahead and do that. So I've already got this prepared because I prepared this earlier. And you will often have a whole bunch of patches. And what we're doing right here is that Drupal is smart enough to know, okay, for Drupal/group, which is up the top here, right up the top here, it is going to apply this patch, which is, if I copy this across because you opened it up in the wrong tab, it's just going to open up and download this patch. Now, to apply this patch, all we need to do is type in composer. So I'm typing in ddev in the beginning because I'm using ddev, and then just update. Let me make sure this is saved because I know VS Code does not automatically save when you make a change. So this is looking good. I've got the patch here. Everything's looking good. Yep. All right, come here, update, and we should see it. It's going to remove it, which is fine. It's going to remove the module, and then it's going to re-add the module and then apply the patch. And you can see here that it's applied the patch. And if it fails to apply it, it will tell you right here. So you know that it's working. It's great. So we've got that. And you can also confirm that everything has been applied by going into the modules. Let's go to contrib. And I've covered this before, but I think it's just important to know. Where is a group? And there is a patches.txt. And this tells you if something's been applied as well. So that's a nice way of just double checking and making sure things are working. Now, if we refresh, it works. There we go. There we go. All right. So we'll come back to this. But what I want to do is let's first take a look at the roles. Well, let's first take a look at the roles. So here you have a bunch of roles, okay? And that's what I mentioned with group, okay? There is a lot of roles involved when you play around with the group module. So here you've got scope. Now scope is an important part because scope defines if the role and the permissions that the role has applies to a user if they are a member of a group or if they are not a member of a group. Take, for example, you have outsider and you have member. From a Drupal standpoint, this is important to understand, from a Drupal standpoint, they are both authenticated users. They have the authenticated user role. But you want to be able to control the permissions based off the fact if they are a member of a group or if they are outside of a group. So this is where you get the flexibility with the group module. And if you don't get it right the first time, it's okay because it does take a bit of finessing. You need to play around with it and set things up correctly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at, so here, if you go to permissions, you can see the roles up the top here. So you have anonymous, and then if it's got this padlock, that means it's outside. The scope is outsider. If it's got the key, that means scope is insider. Then admin just means they get access to everything. So here you've got a few options such as, can you leave a group? Can you join a group? Can you view the access group node overview page? So you do have a lot of these permissions which you need, such as view publish group, because they won't see a publish group. And then also you need to decide, can anonymous users view groups as well? Or do you have to be logged in? This is where it all really depends, okay? It really depends on your use case. But let's set it up this way, okay? Let's set things up. So if I open up, let me move this over there. And let me open up a new tab. Incognito. We go here. Let's go to classes, and I can't see anything, okay? Fair enough. And the reason for that, let me zoom out of that as well, just so we can see a few things. And the reason for that is because Anonymous doesn't have, let's just pull this out a bit, does not have view published group. So we save that, and now we can view the groups, okay? That's the first thing. In our use case, we want to allow anonymous users to access, to view the groups, okay? That's the first thing. Then for outsider authenticated, they should be able to view it as well. Because if they log in, they won't be able to view it. And also if they are a member, they should also view published group. So they can essentially see the groups as well. All right. So we've done all that. So now what we're going to do, let me just quickly open up and create an authenticated user. So I'll call this one student. And I will just save it. There we go. Now let's go ahead and log in. Okay. Got a dashboard, can't see much on the dashboard, but if we go back to classes, there we go. We can see it and we can see everything. All right. Click on here and we can see the classes. Perfect. Now, if we come down to group membership, this is where we can define a few things. We can have outsider. So another way to think of this outsider and insider, this is where my slides come in. So the smiley faces, which are orange in background, consider them as the outsider, but they are logged in. And then the members are the insiders, that's the scope, or the insiders right here. Okay, so I should have probably brought this up earlier, but that's my little example. Okay, so we've got that. And now what we need to do is let's add in functionality where they can join. So that will be for outsider. So if you are authenticated and you're an outsider, then you can join. And you can also leave if you are a member. Now take note of these, the X. So there are certain permissions that aren't allowed. For example, an anonymous user cannot join a group because you need to be a user. Okay. So that's the important thing. An outsider can't leave a group because you haven't joined a group. And then in this case, let's go in there and set leave group for members, and they can also edit their own membership as well. And let's just hit save. Now, one thing to be aware of is that to join a group, you have to just go directly to a URL, because I thought there was a button, but for some reason I can't find the actual button. So what you could do is just create the button yourself. So if I type in /join, I will get this join group. If I remove this permission, just remove it, you get an access denied. But in this case, I want to say it. Let's save it, hit it again, and click on join. And now I've joined. So if we go back to classes, view, and I can now view it. Well, I could view it from the beginning because it was published. Anyway. And let's just scroll down and give access to this node overview page. So that's for members at the top here. So now if I refresh, I should see well, I can't see nodes because there's no content. We'll fix that up in a second. But if I go back to classes and then click on the other class, you'll see that because I'm not a member, I cannot see the nodes tab. All right, let's now create some test content. So what I'll do is I will create Drupal blog post, Drupal blog post, and I'll make it published. There we go. And last but not least, I will Drupal news item, Drupal news item, and there we go. Okay. Now, if I log out and I go directly to this news item, I should see it because it is published. Let me fix it up a bit better so we can actually see content in there. I'm still new at this writing content online stuff. And let's put in the last one. And we'll chuck that one in. All right. Done and dusted. All right. Come along in here, refresh. I can see Drupal news item. Perfect. Go on the home page. What is it? Blog. Drupal blog post. News. Drupal news. And I've got access to it as an anonymous user. Okay. Now let's add these items to the Drupal class. So this is where you want to make sure you have, where is it? Group node installed. You need to have group node installed for this functionality. So this, enables group functionality for the node module. Now, if you're beginning to use Drupal right now and you're thinking, what is node? Node is the old terminology that we used a long time ago, and it's still part of Drupal under the hood. So a content type used to be called node type. So that's why, a node is just a piece of content. So just be aware of that. All right, let's now go into, let me clean this up a little bit. Too many tabs. All right, let's go to content. And this is where I did get something, well, something did pop or break last time. So you want to make sure on the right-hand side, we want to install. Let me bring this up. No, not that. Let me bring this up so we can see it. So my head's not covering it. And what you want to do is click on install on the content types you want to make available to the group here on the right-hand side. So let me bring this up a little bit more so you can see that above my head. Cool. So we have blog post. So let's do that. Let me just make sure this actually works. Oh, it does. Good. Now, there is some advanced functionality right here. I'm not going to cover it too much, but the best way to think of it is that Drupal loves to field everything. And what I mean by that is you can attach fields to a whole bunch of stuff. And in group, in the group module, the actual relationship between the content and the group is actually fieldable as well, is an entity itself. And so you can have this like two-step wizard where you can attach fields to the relationship. This is getting real meta at this point, because you could attach because it's really hard to explain. It's really tough to explain, but essentially it's if you want to add some type of metadata to the relationship between a piece of content and a group. Now, why you want to do that, I don't know. Okay, there might be there's going to be a reason, and there's always going to be a reason when you have that requirement. Straight away, you're going to be like, oh yeah, we can do that. So I'm sure there's a great reason for it. You may want to, I don't know. There's a ton of reasons why you want that flexibility. That's all I'm saying. Drupal gives you a lot of flexibility, so just be aware of that. All right, so let's click on install plugin. Let's make sure this passes. Yes, it does. Good. Cool. So that's been installed. And let's go to news item and click on install. All right. Now, as I mentioned, if you want to attach a field to the relationship entity between the group and the piece of content, so that space between, you can add a field to that just by clicking on config and going into manage fields. And then you can go ahead and attach your custom fields. An example that came into my head right now, you may want to probably track dates or something, or you may want to classify or categorize relationships between content and the group, so you can come in here and create a field. I don't know. There's a ton of reasons. You could actually, oh no, you could potentially, I'm just trying to think. There might be a situation. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's a great idea. There might be a situation because you can reference existing content into a group. So you may have one blog post that is shared across multiple groups, and you want to add some specific metadata for that blog post or piece of content just for that specific group. So then you could add that metadata property on the relationship. So there you go. See, that's a whole other video, honestly. That's a whole other video. All right. So let's just close this up. Let's bring that back down. So we've now added in, so let's go back here under content. We have added in our actual plugins, so our group node plugins. And what we need to do now, let me just have a look at my notes. All right. Now let's reference that content. Okay. Because here on the left-hand side, I'm an anonymous user. But if I go to groups and then click on the group here and then go to content, here you go, add existing entity. So what I could do is add the blog in, then add the content. Okay, so now this is part of the group. What do you think is going to happen on the left-hand side? Well, if we refresh, well, maybe we need to clear the cache. So let me just verify that. Let's go back here. Dev, clear cache. There we go. And we refresh. And we can still see it because that is the group news item. Let's go to blog post and you can see, there you go. I was in the wrong one. So if we refresh, you can no longer see the Drupal blog post because it is no longer there. So if I copy this URL, go here, I get a login page because I essentially get an access denied. Okay. So now let's do a better job because I was on the wrong page. And let's reference this one. So come along in here. Drupal, type in that, hit save. Now this is associated with a group. We refresh and we can no longer see it. Okay. So now it is no longer available. Now, if I log in as a user, a student, okay, let's go back here. Let me grab the URL. That's URL there. Copy this. I'll still get an access denied. And the reason for that is because we need to configure a few things. Always need to configure things. So let's go back here, group type, permissions, And now what we need to do is if we scroll all the way down, well, let me just go open up this in a new tab, go to classes, Drupal. Even though I've got access to this overview page, I still can't see the content. Okay, still can't see the content. And the reason for that is because I need access to a few more things. So under group node, and now you may notice that we have a lot more permissions because we've enabled the, the node plugins, okay? As a member, so under the member column, I've got all of these options. I can add content item, delete, own, edit, and most importantly, I can view any content. Where is that? Is that right here? Yes, it is. It's right there. So view any content item entities under, this is important, under blog post. So if we save that and refresh, we can now, and refresh here, that is the news item. But if we open this one, this is the blog post. So now if I go down to the news item, we'll also have the same option here as well. And let's go here, view items. There we go. Let's do that one. And scroll down. And now, again, come here. And there you go. I can now access both of them. Okay. So you can see there is a bit of configuration involved. Let me just have a sip of coffee. I shouldn't really be having coffee this late, but this is half decaf, half coffee. Well, no, it's mostly decaf, but with a bit of coffee, just to kind of spice things up. All right. So you can see here that when you are configuring the group module, if you thought setting up permissions was annoying, general permissions, which I find very annoying in Drupal, trust me, it's not the most exciting bit of Drupal site building when you set up permissions. But when you're doing it with the group module, then it's even, it's even more annoying because you have to deal with like this inside scope and things like that. And yeah, it can be very, very annoying. Okay, so at this point, we have configured the student or the member role. Now let's configure a teacher role. And to do that, let's first go ahead and create an actual standard Drupal role. And that's going to be called teacher. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll call it teacher. And then we can come back in here, click on roles, and then click on add group role. And this one will also call the same as teacher. And we'll assign out the insider. And that means it's going to be mapped. So the global role for this one will be teacher. Now the name of the roles do not have to match, but you just want to keep it consistent as much as possible. So insider, which is, where is that? Insider, assigned to all members who have the corresponding global role. So what this means is if a member has the teacher role, they will automatically get this teacher group role. And we need to come back here. And now what we can do is assign a bunch of roles. So the first one is view all entities. That's important because they are a teacher. They can also, well, they need to then view as well. So view published, or they won't see it. We can also, if you want, you can give them administer group members. They can view the individual group members. They can access to the overview page, and then it is add content item. So they can add it, they can delete it, they can edit, and they can view and also view any unpublished. And if you want to allow them to add existing content, you can do so, but I'm not going to do that for now. Then the same one is add, delete, edit any, view any, and view unpublished. Or you can have view own unpublished. All right, that's all good. All right, now if we go ahead and create a user, a teacher role, let's go ahead and do that. So I'll call this one teacher at example. And then I'll just give it the same one. And then we can give it the teacher role and click on create. All right. And if I log in and go to classes, I need to be added to that class. So let me go ahead and do that. So go here, members, add member. So because I'm an admin, I can then just assign them. There we go. Now, if I refresh, I can see all of the entities. I can see the members, which is great. I can see the members. And also I can see the content right here. All right. Now I've got that as well. All right, cool. Now, what we need to do is right now, we don't have access to create content because you still need to come along in here and give the user under permissions, give the role access to, what is it? To create content. So where is it? Node. So all of these items need to be assigned. Okay. Now we could manually do it, or the other option, just because I can't be bothered doing it right now, is I believe we can use the content editor. So if we assign the user content editor, this teacher content editor, they should be able to get access to everything. All right, here we go. I can come along in here, can create the content because the user's got content editor. So custom Drupal, no, what is it? Teacher Drupal blog. And let's just throw that in. Let's make it published. Let me move this out. And let's click on save. Okay, that's been added. Now, if I go to classes, I should see it under nodes right here. Here we go. There we go. And now that has been created. So as a teacher, I can just come along in here. I've got edit access, and I can go ahead and create it. So there are two parts when it comes to creating content within a group. So you first need to make sure that they have the role here, and that they can go ahead and create content through the permissions on here. Then at the same time, if we go to, where is it? Which one's group? Here we go. Let's go back here. Group listing, no, group types. Come along in here. Under permission, I'll full screen this. Then you also want to make sure that these are assigned as well. So it's a two-step process. So that's pretty much a basic introduction to the group module. As I mentioned in the beginning, there is a lot to this module. There is a lot. It's a very powerful module, and I don't think I can cover it in just one video. I will probably look in the future doing another video around this, which could be around creating community site. I don't know. I need to come up with a nice idea for it. So let's just do a quick recap, okay? So the group module is great for situations where you need to group content and control access to that content based off some type of group where users can be members of a group. And so a good use case is subscriptions like sub sites or like events as well. That's another good example. And then you want to go ahead and create your group types. And on top of that, you want to install the group node module, which allows you to install plugins. And then you spend a lot of time setting up roles. So that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about Drupal and other CMSs, then head over to webwash.net. And if you want to check out other Drupal videos, then head over to the Webwash YouTube channel, click on live, and you can see all of our previous live streams all there, which are available for free for you to watch. Now, this video will have, as of this recording, it doesn't have chapters, but it will have chapter markers at the end. It will have chapter markers probably tomorrow. So chances are, if you are watching it, just look in the description and jump to specific sections. Anyway, if you have any questions, leave a comment. And if you have any ideas about other videos, just leave a comment as well, because I'm trying to come up with ideas. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll catch you all next time. All right. How was that? All right. That was the group launch was actually pretty good. I like it. I like it. So this week there was the DrupalCon Atlanta. And I believe, no, let me just turn that off. And there was also a demo of Experience Builder, which is actually pretty cool. The fact that you can create components like single directory components from the browser, a real no-code solution. And what else was there? Oh yeah, there was mention about a marketplace for recipes, which is pretty interesting. Be curious to see what people think of that, where you can have a marketplace full of recipes. Anyway. All right, so just before we finish up, any questions? All right. Oh, it's a bit late here. Okay. Let me just see how things are going with the feed. No, everything's going all right. Everything's going all right. Cool. 5 people watching there. So where's all? I've got here 26 people. Where are these 26 people? 25 people, sorry. Wait, did that just drop? No, it didn't. Oh, good. Interesting. Okay. Oh, Restream's telling me that things are offline, but that's not right. It is not right at all. Anyway. All right. Well, I'll let you all go. Have a great evening and a great weekend. All right.